Welcome to the Strange Serenity podcast, where we like to take these deep dives into really fascinating but often kind of unsettling topics. And today, we're diving deep into the world of H.P. Lovecraft and specifically Cthulhu. We've got this podcast transcript and then also this really fascinating deep analysis that we're going to be using to guide us today. And, we really want to emphasize this isn't just about like tentacles and teeth and all that kind of monstrous stuff. It's really about what Cthulhu represents, like cosmic horror, this idea that humans are just insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and of course that fear of the unknown. So if you're into that kind of existential dread, buckle up.
You hit the nail on the head there about Cthulhu being more than just a monster in a spooky story. I mean, it's really like a glimpse into how Lovecraft saw the universe, this place where really humans are just totally insignificant and where these powerful forces that we can't even begin to understand are in total control.
Yeah, it's a pretty bleak outlook, but I guess that's why we're here, right? To explore the darkness a little bit.
Yeah.
But for those who maybe haven't encountered Cthulhu before, could you maybe like paint a picture?
Yeah.
What is it that makes this creature so uniquely terrifying?
Well, imagine like this being that just defies any category we have here on Earth. It's this grotesque mix of like an octopus and a dragon and then something kind of vaguely human.
Mhm.
And it's lurking way down in the Pacific Ocean in this sunken city called Arlia. But, it's not even really the physical appearance that'll send chills down your spine.
So it's not your typical like movie monster then. What's different about it?
It's the embodiment of like cosmic indifference, Like
Yeah.
Lovecraft saw the universe as this vast and completely uncaring place when it comes to human life. It's like we're ants scurrying around and there's this giant who doesn't even notice we exist. And Cthulhu, it represents that, that terrifying scale of existence. It's not even really evil in any, normal way. It just is like a force of nature that's just way beyond what we can grasp.
That's yeah, that's pretty heavy stuff. No wonder people associate Lovecraft's work with existential dread, like we were saying earlier.
Exactly. And that's where you get this term Lovecraftian horror. It's not just about jump scares or gore, right? It's about this fear that comes from realizing just how small we are in this huge, uncaring cosmos. It's the horror of what we don't know, what we can't know, and what that all means for how we even understand reality itself.
I think if I actually came face to face with Cthulhu, I'd probably have a full-blown existential crisis right there on the spot.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way, actually. One of the things the sources really highlight is how Cthulhu taps into this, like, primal fear we have of losing our minds. Imagine, encountering something so alien, so beyond anything you've ever experienced, that it just shatters your mind, just breaks it apart. That's, like, pure Lovecraftian horror right there.
So it's not even just a physical threat then, it's a psychological one too. Like, it attacks the core of who we are as humans.
Exactly. It messes with our sense of self. And along with that comes this, like, overwhelming feeling of helplessness. We like to think we have some control over the world around us, but Cthulhu just throws all that out the window. It's this force we can't bargain with, can't reason with, can't defeat. And that powerlessness, that's terrifying.
So how does all this, this horror and dread, how does it all connect back to the, like, philosophical side of things?
Well, think about the implications here. If humanity really is totally insignificant in this like giant cosmic drama, what does that say about all our values, our beliefs, even our purpose? We're really just specks of dust in a meaningless void. I mean, these are questions philosophers have struggled with for centuries, and Cthulhu just brings them to the forefront in this really visceral, disturbing way.
It's like Cthulhu's a philosophical thought experiment come to life. And yeah, pretty disturbing one at that.
And the really fascinating thing is this creature that Lovecraft created almost a century ago, it still resonates with us today. It hasn't gone away. What do you think keeps drawing us back to Cthulhu, even though it terrifies us?
I think it might be because in a world that's just getting more and more complex where we feel like we're losing control, Cthulhu embodies all that anxiety. Like it's a reflection of our deepest fears about, the universe and our place in it. And honestly, those fears are pretty universal.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like Lovecraft, through Cthulhu, he tapped into something about the human experience that we all share. The fear of the unknown, the unease of feeling insignificant. It's something we all grapple with in one way or another. And that's the thing about Cthulhu, It's like, even though it's all about cosmic horror and stuff, it can actually lead to some, like, pretty profound insights. It's not all doom and gloom, you know what I mean?
Wait a minute, hold on. Didn't we just spend the last, I don't know how long, talking about how this thing represents a universe that doesn't care about us at all and how our minds could, shatter just from being near it. How do we get from that to, like, valuable insights? Help me out here.
Okay, hear me out. Think about this idea of cosmic indifference that we were talking about. What if we just accepted that, that the universe really is indifferent to our existence? Like, it doesn't care about our successes or our failures. You know what? It can be kind of liberating, actually.
Liberating.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it sounds more like a recipe for, like, total nihilism to me.
Not necessarily. Look at it this way. If the universe isn't out there assigning some kind of like inherent meaning to our lives, it means we're free to create our own,
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off. We don't have to live up to some grand cosmic expectation. We get to define our own purpose and values. We decide what matters.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. It's like, by embodying this, like, total indifference, Cthulhu kind of gives us permission to just, like, chart our own course, make our own meaning.
Exactly. And it's connected to another important idea here, too, resilience. When you realize how small you are compared to the cosmos, it can actually make you more adaptable, more humble. You start focusing on what really matters. Connection, compassion, making the most of the time you have, the stuff that really counts.
So, like, finding meaning in the, like, smaller things, the human connections, rather than looking for some big cosmic purpose.
You got it. And there's this other fascinating aspect that the sources talk about too, curiosity. Cthulhu, right? It represents the vast unknown, all those mysteries that are like way beyond human comprehension. And sure, that can be terrifying, but it can also be this powerful motivator, It pushes us to explore and to discover.
Wait, you're saying we should be curious about Cthulhu? I'm not sure I want to know more, honestly.
I get it, it's scary stuff. But think about it. It's that desire to understand. Even when we're afraid and things are uncertain, that's what drives us forward as humans. It makes us explore new territories, push the boundaries of what we know, challenge how we see reality. It's what makes us, well, us.
So Cthulhu, it's like a symbol of this drive we have to uncover the mysteries of the universe, even if those mysteries could, like, break our minds. That's pretty intense.
It is. It's like we're drawn to the unknown, even when it terrifies us. And that willingness to confront the things we can't explain, that's what makes us human. That's what sets us apart.
I like that way of looking at it. It's not just about Cthulhu. It's about this, like, basic human desire to explore and understand, to make sense of the world, even the scary parts.
Exactly. Cthulhu is just a symbol, right? It's a representation of all that vast, unknown stuff that's out there and how we choose to react to it, whether we're afraid or curious. That says a lot about who we are.
You've definitely changed my perspective on Cthulhu, I have to say. I'm starting to see it as more than just this, like, terrifying monster.
Yeah.
It's also a symbol of our limitations, but also our potential. It's kind of inspiring in a weird way.
That's a great point. And, the sources really stress this. Cthulhu doesn't offer any easy answers. It doesn't tell us how to find meaning or purpose when the universe seems indifferent. But when we confront the questions it brings up, when we really wrestle with these concepts of cosmic horror and human insignificance, we might just discover something really profound about ourselves, about what it means to be human.
So what you're saying is, even though Cthulhu represents this, like, terrifying truth about our existence, it also gives us this opportunity for growth and self-discovery. It's like a weird cosmic gift, almost.
Exactly. It's all about how you look at it. We can focus on the horror, the fear, how small we are, or we can choose to embrace the resilience, the curiosity, the possibilities that come with knowing our limits. Which brings us to the big question. What do we do with all these insights? How do we find meaning and purpose when something like Cthulhu might actually be out there?
Okay, now you've really got me thinking. We're going to have to dive into that in the next part of our deep dive. This is getting pretty deep. Okay, so we're back. And I got to say, this whole Cthulhu thing is really taking us on a wild ride. Like, we started with cosmic horror and minds breaking apart, and now we're talking about resilience and curiosity and even finding meaning in a universe that might not even care if we exist. It's a lot to process.
It is, and that's kind of the beauty of taking a deep dive like this, Cthulhu, as creepy as it is, makes us think about these really big existential questions. And those questions, even if they don't have easy answers, can lead us to some pretty profound places, I think.
So let's get down to it. How do we find meaning and purpose in a world where something like Cthulhu could actually be out there? Where do we even start?
Well, I think step one is accepting that there might not be one big answer, like one universal truth that applies to everyone. The sources we looked at, they emphasize that the universe, just like Cthulhu itself, doesn't really care about our little human search for meaning. It's not going to hand us a nicely wrapped package with all the answers inside.
So it's not about finding the answer, but about the searching itself. Like the journey's more important than the destination.
Exactly. The meaning we find, it's often something we create ourselves through the things we do, the people we connect with, how we interact with the world. It's about choosing to see value, even when the universe doesn't seem to offer it.
That makes me think about like finding those little warm spots on a really cold day.
Yeah.
Like the universe might be this big, cold, indifferent thing, but we can create our own little pockets of warmth and meaning.
I love that. And those little pockets of meaning, they can be anywhere, like connecting with nature or learning new things or making art or being with the people we care about. It's about finding those things that make life worth living, even when something as huge and terrifying as Cthulhu is out there.
So it's like acknowledging the darkness, the vastness, all that indifference, but then choosing to focus on the light we find along the way.
Exactly. We can recognize that our lives have value even if the universe as a whole doesn't see it that way. And that realization, choosing to find meaning and purpose, that's really what makes us human.
It's almost like we're saying, okay, Cthulhu, you're out there. You're the ultimate cosmic horror, but we're not giving up. We're going to find meaning, connect with each other, and live our lives to the fullest, even with you lurking in the depths.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that, I think, is the big takeaway from this whole Cthulhu deep dive. It's not about giving in to fear or despair. It's about finding strength even when things are unknown and scary. It's about the resilience, the curiosity, the new perspective that Cthulhu, as horrifying as it is, can awaken in us.
It's funny, we started this conversation feeling kind of terrified, but we're ending it with a sense of, like, hope and empowerment. And it's amazing how exploring these big, complex ideas can change how we see things.
That's the magic of a deep dive, right? You face your fears, learn new things, and come out the other side feeling like you have a new purpose.
So for our listeners who are maybe still feeling a little freaked out by Cthulhu, what would you say to them? Like, how do we deal with this stuff?
Embrace the mystery. Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. And most importantly, choose to find meaning in your own life, even when the universe seems indifferent. Remember, the universe might be vast and uncaring, but we all have the power to create our own meaning.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Cthulhu. We hope you've enjoyed exploring these cosmic horrors and the unexpected things they've taught us. We'll see you next time on the Strange Serenity podcast.